Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Note the Past. Today, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about old Volkswagens, that iconic vehicle back in the 60s when we were growing up and entering our adulthood. Be sure to stick around until the end because we've got a special documentary, cool little documentary that we want you to see. Volkswagens have had a long history in our family and with our friends. In fact, during high school, my wife was involved in an accident. She was a passenger with one of her close friends, Chris Burns, and they actually flipped the vehicle and they walked away without a scratch. And I'm sure that many of you have, maybe not that story, but many of you have other VW stories. We've had 12 Volkswagens in our family over the years, from Bugs or Beetles to buses, one cabriolet, some Golfs, and in fact, I still have a single cab. One person who shares our passion for Volkswagens is my childhood friend, Rusty Hurd, who's joining us today. Hey, Rusty.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good, good. We're going to share a few memories and stories. And as I said, provide you with a short video at the end, which documents a wonderful little excursion that we went on to. Be sure to watch and click on the Note the Past little icon in the right-hand corner and share your own stories, your own memories of Volkswagens that you've had over the years. So it should be a lot of fun. Let me start out by saying my first Volkswagen was a 1959 blue ragtop VW. Loved it. It was a 36 horsepower Volkswagen, so not a lot of power, but enough, with a 6-volt battery. In fact, I paid $400 for that. My father took me to Crocker Bank in Palo Alto and co-signed a $400 loan in order for me to get that. And love that Volkswagen. I then went to a 1964 Volkswagen. And in fact, Rusty and I rebuilt that Volkswagen at his gas station. We both had gas stations in Menlo Park. I was at Frenchie's, Phillips 66, and right across the street, Rusty was at Rich's Mobile, and we actually rebuilt that Volkswagen. I don't think we got it started on our first attempt, but ultimately we did. What about you, Rusty? What was your first Volkswagen?
So back in 1969, my brother got a Volkswagen, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And my father, again, he, like yours, co-signed for us to get these, and I got a brand new 69 red Bug. It had two options on it. One was an AM radio, and the other was pop-out windows in the back. Other than that, it was completely stock. I don't even know what other options there were that time, but I paid $1,900 for it. I remember my payment was like $50 a month or something like that, not much, and brand new car. And I don't know why I got rid of it, other than I got rid of it to get a square back. I traded it in at Palo Alto.
Gus Mozart.
And I traded it in and got a square back. And ultimately we got rid of that. And again, I wish I had both those cars today. And then probably 10 or 12 years ago, I got a bus. I think it was a newer, like a 69, 70, 71 bus. And I was going to rebuild the whole thing and trick it out. And I just never had the time to do anything with it. And I ultimately sold it. And I sold it before they became as popular as they are today. Yeah. So I didn't get a whole lot for it. But
yeah, you didn't make your money, the big money that you could have made today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, that red Volkswagen that you're talking about, that 69, You did add one other accessory. You put on 4 huge, large tires. I'll never forget our friend Rory, when he saw it, said, well, what, does it make it go faster? But that was really a cool car. In fact, that car was the car that Cindy and I drove away from our church when we got married back in
Yeah.
March of 1970. And
Yeah.
we still have those photos of us looking out the back window. It was
Right.
just
Yeah.
a beautiful, beautiful Volkswagen.
We did a lot of stuff in that car. Road trips. Linda, my wife, and we went to British Columbia for 2 weeks. We drove up the California coast. I had the iconic metal roof rack on it to carry all of our camping gear, and we bought an old, which we still have today, rocking chair. So if it was 100 years old when I bought it, it's now, 150 something years old. But we still have that and carried it back on the roof of
Wow.
the Bug. So, and then you remember our trip to we started out like at 4 a.m. or some crazy thing, and we drove to Santa Barbara, where we had friends going to school. I think we woke them up. We got there a little earlier than they were used to getting up. And I remember we had breakfast with them. And then you and I split and we went to Disneyland and we spent the day there. We had made a couple of side trips out of the parking lot and back into the parking lot. And then we drove to San Diego to see my aunt, and who Chris had a crush on.
I did.
I did too. And we get there and she wasn't there. She had flown up to the Bay Area to be with my stepmother. And so we drove back to Santa Barbara to spend the night. Now, I should try to figure out what that mileage was, but it was a long day.
It was a long day, but it was a great trip. I mean, that Volkswagen had speed in it. I don't remember what the horsepower was, but it moved.
Yeah.
Great car, great memory. I should also mention, I was talking about the Volkswagens that we had in our family. We also had a white 66 Squareback that Rory helped us find. And that was a car that we had with Jessica and Sarah when they were babies. And
I remember that car.
Boy, I'd love to still have that car today. You were mentioning when we were talking earlier that Volkswagens are just they're so iconic that even today, when you see one, you're going like that to the owner of the Volkswagen, or you're stopping by to share stories, because so many of our generation had that car.
Yeah.
Well,
it's funny when you look at old pictures that people post online. There's always a couple of VWs in that picture parked on El Camino in Menlo Park or Santa Cruz Avenue. It's Bay Area memories. And everywhere. And of course, you watch the old everybody getting into Woodstock to go to the concert. And I mean, you just pick out Volkswagen after Volkswagen. And of course, a lot of buses.
Totally. And it's interesting, Rusty, I'm working on another podcast, which is going to be the Buffalo Springfield Music Tree. All the bands that came out of that group. And Buffalo Springfield was, Neil Young, Stephen Stills, Bruce Palmer, Jim Messina, Richie Furay. I'm probably missing someone, but Dewey Martin, the drummer. But in this video, it was a Poco video, and Rusty Young of Poco was invited by Richie Furay to come and play a steel guitar on the song Kind Woman, which was Richie's song that was added to the last Buffalo Springfield album. And he says in that little documentary, oh, I just love the Buffalo Springfield, and Richie told me to fly out, and he picked me up at the airport in his little red Volkswagen. I mean, it was just it was a great little story. So, so many great memories. And why don't you just set up very quickly the video that we're going to show to our viewers today?
Well, I've always wanted to In my best dream, I would have um, been able to have the time and the energy and all that to rebuild a bug. And you know, and I constantly I'm looking at them. You know, there's Facebook, they're on there all the time. I'm constantly looking at them. So I got a phone call from a friend, and he owns some property up in Oregon that it's always been rental property. But the guy that lived there passed away, and he had 5 Volkswagens, and he said they want to sell them. Are you interested? So I said, yeah, sure, you know. And so we talked about price and worked out a deal. You know, the information that he gave me at the time wasn't quite what was the story, the real story about him. So Chris, myself, and my son Marshall, thank God he was there. We drove to Oregon. We left at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, got there at probably 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And we ended up hauling these things out that evening. It was raining. It wasn't raining hard, but it was raining. They were surrounded by 2 or 3 feet of weeds that were all wet. Some of them, the tires were flat completely. Some of them, one of them had weeds growing up through it. So I had a car carrier come, and we met him the next morning, helped him get these Volkswagens loaded, and he drove them down to my shop in Tracy, California, and we unloaded them. He could only bring 3, so we had to go back and get the other 2. And I've got some shop guys, and when they have spare time, they go out and clean them up. We've got one of them running pretty well, drivable, and we're working on the others to see where that comes. And so we've got a great video for you of that trip.
Well, we can't wait to have you see it. And remember, as you're watching it, think of your old Volkswagen memories and go on my YouTube channel, Note the Past, and share a few memories. Let's get some excitement going to talk about these old Volkswagens of the past. And Rusty and I certainly have several of these books. One of the things that we really enjoy
right there
are all of the Volkswagen ads. You remember these, and what a great job the advertising agency did with these to introduce the Volkswagen to America and to get a lot of enthusiasm and motivation, and obviously fantastic sales for this wonderful, wonderful vehicle. So Rusty, thanks a lot for joining, and let's show everybody the video.
All right. Thanks.
It's square.
Don't cover that. All right, here we are. It is Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. My childhood friend Art Hurd, Rusty and me, we're heading on a VW adventure, heading up to Crestwell, Oregon, to pick up 5 old vintage Volkswagens for Rusty here, and hope to chronicle the trip along the way.
I wish we were driving this. I don't know how long it'd take us to get there.
Catch up with you soon. We're about a half hour out of Creswell. You can see we're in Oregon farm country. Just pulling over for a minute, regroup. It's been a great trip coming up here. Some pretty countryside. We're excited to go see our big find. There's Marshall, our driver. Hey, bud. There's Rusty, our navigator. On the way, you ready to see those Volkswagens?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Here we are. 3:45 on Monday, March 3rd, 2024, in Creswell, Oregon, coming onto the property. And you can see there is a fastback. That's part of the mother load that Rusty purchased. And there's another bug way over there in the distance. Let's see what we got.
So I'm with Sierra, and she's the daughter of the owner of these Volkswagens, and we're just curious how they came about.
Yeah.
So my dad, when he lived down in Southern California, was a Volkswagen mechanic.
Oh.
Which, if you peek in the garage, may give a little hint towards that.
Okay.
And so he just had a love of bugs his whole life. He got the bug.
Yeah.
So he just, as he was able, collected them and, had aspirations of fixing them up and had a garage full of parts to do so. And as things sometimes happen, other projects take priority. So he has a really fun little collage menagerie of bugs at this point.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's really sad. So many of these bugs end up out in the fields like this, and Mother Nature takes over and says, "Oh, that's mine." So
exactly.
Yeah, when the grass gets taller than the windshield.
Well, just the pictures that were originally sent to me, the grass is over there is probably a foot taller.
Oh yeah.
So, well, that's great.
I'm happy to see them out of the field. So.
It's interesting. I was supposed to be a Volkswagen mechanic, and my parents had set me up to go to Germany to work at a gas station and kind of learn the language. And then there were some other people they knew that were going to help me get a job at the Volkswagen factory. And I met my wife and said, "Well, I'm not going." And they said, "Well, we'll take her with you." And she didn't want to go. So anyway.
Well, Sierra, this is terrific. Really appreciate you arranging this and spending a few minutes giving us the history.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And good luck to you.
Likewise.
We're starting the process. There are 2 Volkswagens back there. We just had to pull this out to get the Volkswagens out. Marshall behind the wheel. Rusty supervising.
That's all I'm good for.
Good job, Mods. First one being pulled out. You can see the second one there.
So is that good enough? Oh, well.
So check out the challenge of this one. I mean, how tall that grass is.
He didn't leave a weed whacker out.
Oh, that's right.
So we're going to chain it up and we're going to pull it out and pull it down to where those other ones are. And the hauler's going to come right in on that road from the street there. Wow. All right, it's Monday morning, June 3rd, a little after 8 o'clock. Just picking up where we left off yesterday, making great progress, as I said. We still have that fastback. These were the 2 that we pulled out. We've got that little bug up there. And Rusty and Marshall are back checking out the pink, weird color for a Volkswagen, which is around a branch, and trying to figure out how we're going to move the branches out of the way, or the trailer out of the way. There's Rusty, but you can see back there the pink Volkswagen that we need to pull out. All of this is preparatory for the hauler who's showing up at 10 a.m. So we're making progress. We'll keep you posted. Okay, here comes the pink one. There's Marshall driving the car with the strap. There's Rusty holding it up. Gonna try to pull this thing out of the mud and the weeds. There's a tree in the way there. That's why we couldn't. Here it comes. Look at this. Wheels aren't moving, but it definitely is in.
Hey, whoa!
Neutral. Okay, here we go. Second phase out of getting it to this point, away from the tree.
It's not turning towards you.
Okay, Mach, you ready?
All right.
Here we go.
4 coming to its new home.
Look at this. Here she comes after years sitting in the rain in Oregon.
Coming out of the weeds.
The front wheels aren't spinning.
Boy, those axles must really. Oh, there we go. There's a little spinning.
Flat tire.
What do you say, huh? The last time this thing was registered, you can see 2012. Whoa. Okay, here comes number 5, a fastback.
Not quite, no. Okay, you are now.
Here it comes. Look at this. Look how long that's been sitting there. Look at that back there. That grass.
Door's got Bondo on it. That's
Now
good.
we wait. We're waiting for the hauler. Hey guys, we're ready, huh?
Ready. We're ready.
But look at them lined up. We got
Ready
the
to load them up and head them out.
exactly. We got the fastback out, and there are those 3, and there's the pink one up there. So it's just a matter of getting that hauler now to come down this driveway and pick them up. And while we're waiting, good news, Rusty with his incredible negotiation skills, we talked about the crappy condition these things are in, and he was able to reduce the price from $8,000 to $5,000, so that's $1,000 per Volkswagen. So that's a good result this Tuesday morning. Right, there's the hauler out there.
This is gonna be impressive. Backing in there.
Here he comes, backing it up. And it's about 9:45 Tuesday morning. So we'll see how long this is going to be. The trailer couldn't fit down the driveway, so Marshall is hauling them out one by one to the street in order to get onto that trailer. You can only take 3 on this trip, so another trip's gonna be scheduled to bring the other 2 to Redwood City. So this is kind of challenging. We're pulling them out of the yard you can see there, and got them lined up on the street here. But given the fact that some of the steering wheels are locked, it's hard to get the bugs in place to go up that ramp. So stay tuned. Oh, look, we got the first one on, and that is probably going to be the most difficult.
How long was that? An hour and something?
Probably in it. What do you think, Mods? An hour?
15.
Yeah. Just to get that first one on, because the steering wheel was locked, and you can see the tires are slightly ajar, so it kept falling off of these little tracks here. But it's on. Now we move on to number 2, the fastback. We're making progress. One more to go. And there's Nick, who is the hauler. So we've got this last one we're loading up. And then the 2 up there are going to come back for another trip. But we're making progress. Okay, here's Marshall going through this field here, coming over to get those other two Volkswagens up there because we need to get them out of the driveway, or we're going to try to get them out of the driveway so the hauler can pick them up on Thursday. But he drove all the way across that field from the road down there. Pretty cool. And while number 3 is being loaded onto the hauler, Mats is taking the Volkswagen across the field to put it in a better position for the hauler when he comes back on Thursday. And then there were 3. Good job, Nick. Thank you. Then there were 3. It's going to load that up, and we're going to head to Jackson, Redding, back to the Bay Area.
I wanted to put one
Oh,
on top of
Marshall's getting the last one
then 2 on the trailer.
over there
This
to
kind of
haul
ramps only for 10,000 pounds.
across the field.
These flipping ramps and put the car right here, like it's hanging from the trailer, like on the ramps. You just slide down with the chain to the trailer.
And there they go. To be ready to be picked up on Thursday.
It looks like there is all wheels rolling.
yeah, I think
Easy
so.
for me.
And the other one too, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
one, the back one started rolling.
You see that road up there, the hauler can just come right there, not impeded by a fence, into the driveway and make it much easier just to pick up these 2 Volkswagens very close to the street. Creativity abounds. So you can see Marshall hauled the last 2 remaining Volkswagens to the intersection of Lynx Hollow Road and Turkey Run Road in Creswell, Oregon. And there they are. So here's the street, the last 2 to be picked up, which will happen on Thursday. And up ahead are the 3 on the hauler. And he's ready to pull out and head on down to Tracy. I've been saying Redwood City, but they're actually going to Tracy, California.
Great job getting these things on. Took longer to get them on the trailer than it did to get them out of the weeds. So
Really appreciate your help, Nick.
Yep, no problem.
And pray for Ukraine.
Thank you.
very good.